Hobo Show presents the Savage Rifter Podcast.
Oh, where are we?
Oh my god, there's a robot!
What? Run away! Run away now! What?
I don't know what's happening.
Where are we?
I don't know.
Gosh, like we're falling through rips in the time-space continuum.
We're in the middle of a war zone.
The Savage Rifter Podcast.
Welcome to the Savage Rifter Show, Episode 6, The Juicer. I'm one of your hosts, Gary, the Murder Hobo, and I'm here with none other than world-renowned and infamous Riffs superstar Victor Diaz of the Savage Riffs G+ community fame.
Game on, Gary. How's it going, everybody? You guys know who it is. This is the one and only Mr. Savage Rifter himself. Hope you guys are ready for a good one. We're going to talk about the juicers today. And, of course, as usual, all this is for the fans, by the fans. So please pay attention because it's going to go quick.
Fantastic. This is a podcast all about Savage Worlds riffs. We're going to break down riffs piece by piece so Victor can teach me and you, the listener, how to play, enjoy, and understand riffs. What are we doing today there, big fella?
As usual, we're going to going over the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, and we are going to be talking on page number, drum roll please, 24. At the top, it's going to be the juicer, yours and one of my favorites.
6 episodes in, and we're 24 pages into this.
See, that just goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's a good point, Gary. It is funny, right? Because we were just talking about this earlier that, golly, we've already done 6 episodes. We're completing the 6 episodes, but 6 episodes, and we've only done 24 pages of content out of the rule book. So if you guys haven't picked up the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, go get your book now. Trust me, this thing is jam-packed full of Savage World ooey-gooiness.
Yeah, insane. Very excited for the juicer. I've been having some bowel issues lately, and a little fiber is going to do me some good.
It's not that kind of juicer, Gary.
Oh, okay.
Hi there, Mr. Suit-wearing guy. Yes, that's me. Don't I know you from someplace before? Yeah, I do know you. What's new with you, man? Well, I suppose I can tell you what's new.
From the Rifts.
Incoming reports mail.
The Legionaries Field Reports.
You can reach us at murderhoboshow@gmail.com or get us on Twitter if you can keep it under 140 characters. Actually, I think they're updating that to 280 characters. So please hit us up at Murder Hobo Show, or you can always reach us at the Google Plus page, Murder Hobo Show under the Nerds International banner, or you can reach out to myself directly at the Google Plus Savage Rifts page. You guys know where it happens. It's happening right there on the Google Plus community because they are the biggest and baddest bunch of mofos you guys have ever heard. Thank you so much to all the people who are part of that page. I can't thank you guys enough. We're up to 518 members in a year. Every day, one by one, we are slowly taking over the world. So keep on listening, keep on typing, keep on putting up your guys' questions and answers and all your great picks and all the wonderful stuff that you guys put up on that community. Thank you so much for supporting us and supporting the love of Rifts as a game.
You're slowly taking over the world. Maybe you are the reason for the apocalypse that created the Rifts universe, and you just don't even know it yet.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
I had read something about Twitter bumping that up. I didn't know it was going from 140 to 280, but I am a little scared to read Trump's tweets when he has 280 characters worth of space to call people out. It's gonna be solid.
It's gonna be interesting reading. All I know is if you work in any of the news or the media, you guys are gonna just eat it up.
Yeah, 280 characters. That's a lot of room for saying things.
That's like twice the bullets. Hey, Mike, look, here we go. No, so he's talking. This is what he posts exactly. Another great podcast, of course. Now I can't stop thinking about.
That is Quebecois.
Glitter Boys chain smoking and sipping poutine out of a specially dedicated tube in their armor. See, Gary, they are listening. He goes on to say, as far as being king of the battlefield, I think Glitter Boys have too many limitations compared to many of the other IFs. That makes them more of a dedicated anti-armor unit than anything else. He goes on to say, Juicer and Crazy Splitting the Seconds can easily attack from the behind, getting the little ball. Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit on the show, and I think we've discussed it just pretty much ad nauseum in the Google Plus community. The Glitter Boy can be a one-shot wonder. You have a giant tank gun, a boom gun sitting on your shoulder, and you have to lock it down, wait a turn, and fire it off, and you only get a certain degree of fire, and you have a blast template, and boom, you blow it up. But a lot of the times, everyone's moving too fast for you to do that or to use it effectively. So what you really have to do as a Glitter Boy pilot, or just as a power armor pilot, is you have to learn to use that a little bit more to your advantage. Find other weapons that you can carry. Have people make weapons that you can carry. Have the Techno Wizard build you something that you can use. It's going to be really, really difficult to be able to be effective with the boom gun if that's all you're going to be relying upon. For me, I've seen a lot of people do great things whenever they lose the boom gun. So a good example is we had a guy who had a stealth Glitter Boy. Yeah, he wasn't shiny. He was all black. But he had recovered this piece of Glitter Boy armor, and he had paid the money and paid all the guys, all the mechanics all over his travels to help rebuild it. And when he finally got it built, he couldn't buy a gun because he didn't have enough money. So he's like, well, screw it. I'm just going to walk around and carry an oversized, machine gun or minigun or something. And he was more effective as a giant power armor pilot than anything else without the boom gun. And it was really a cool twist on the story because it forced him to think outside the box. And that's when you're going to get the most out of any kind of power armor, the Glitter Boys. But that's a good point. It can be really difficult because the Glitter Boy is considered an anti-armor unit. So fire away, but you just have to pick your targets. You have to be careful and you have to get creative. And sometimes, God forbid, you have to fire the weapon without clamping down first. That can be just as dangerous as being on the front end of the gun, but you have to take your chances. So thank you so much, Jerk number 2. I appreciate you listening in and giving us your feedback. Please continue to do so, and we'll look forward to something from you soon.
Before you jump off to the next one, I got to tell you a dumbass story. When I was a kid, I had this 76 Toyota Celica station wagon. Or no, it was a Toyota Corolla station wagon. It was a mustard yellow with sweet brown stuck on. Oh. I almost want to say it was a wood pattern, like stick-on kind of tape, but like really big. You know what I mean? It was that kind of wood paneling on the side of it.
It was
and no, my buddy Steve. He jetted out the carbs, or jetted the carb out and stuff like it. It went pretty quick. It was a fast little 1600cc cruiser. But
nice.
I was just thinking about this. The boom gun guy. The glitter boy didn't have enough money for a boom gun, and I'm thinking to myself, man, you know, do what I did and just like make one out of cardboard and walk around with it. Even if it doesn't fire, as long as you have one, it still looks cool, right? So back to my
intimidating as hell, right?
Yeah, back to my stupid ass '76 Toyota Celica. I made a cardboard air scoop for the front of it and made it look like a full on sleeper
That's
car,
awesome.
all crafted out of cardboard and stuck to it. It flew off in the rain one day, but it was fun while it
you
lasted.
were crafting even back then, right?
I've always done dumb things, but yeah, it was what I was saying last week. I like the glitter boy. I like the fact that they come in and they just pack a big wallop, but the limited mobility and things. The nice part about it is it really makes you want to set the stage. If you're going to play a glitter boy, here's what I would do personally. Like if you take Garnet Town Gambit, for example, there's the one scene where you have to go off and do your deal and you find this group and you get in your battles. I'm thinking you take the glitter boy and you lock him down on the other side of the hill, and then you go over and you wave everybody, hey, come get some suckers, and then run over the hill. And as soon as they come over the hill, he's already patoned into the ground and ready to start blasting.
Exactly.
I wonder if
that's how you want to play him. That's how you need to play them, because ultimately a glitter boy by himself, you're not going to last that long. Eventually, the enemy will get close enough, and eventually they will get to you. But you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't realize that the glitter boy is a power armor. It can run at about 60 miles an hour. It can jump up to a second story window, literally like just jump in the air and go right through a second story window without even thinking about it. And the mobility is a lot better than you think it is. So a lot of people shouldn't be afraid to move around, get into a better position, and play that cat and mouse game with your target and get it to move into a firing lane to where you can use that big gun to take it out. You may only get one or two shots, but it's a boom gun. That's all you need.
Yeah. I just want to blow up somebody in like a porta potty.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Just
You
boom
get that
gun
blue stuff everywhere.
The blue stuff, the brown stuff. You pretty much get everything
stuff.
everywhere.
Yeah.
What does Matt have to say?
So Matt Williams is talking about the Angels of Death and the Angels of Vengeance. He says the angels are both full conversion Borgs. The Angel of Death has been alive since the Golden Age of Man and helped develop the mom implants, which is the crazy implants, the mind over matter implants. We talked about that when we were talking about the crazies. She went full conversion and insane over the centuries. He's talking about the Angel of Death. She's a cyberdoc and a scientist extraordinary. The Angel of Vengeance is her adopted daughter and is a super high-end full conversion Borg. If you guys haven't seen it, you ought to check out that picture. It's pretty sick. The Angel of Vengeance is pretty awesome combat Borg. His question is, doesn't the Free Quebec Glitter Boy have a backup weapon system in the arm like a Tri-X model? A folding vibroblade and a laser, I think. And he goes on to say, oh, mutants in orbit, you're so crazy. Yes, so the Glitter Boy from Free Quebec does have a backup weapon system. It has a folding vibroblade in one arm, and it has a small laser on the top, on the same forearm as that vibroblade. Really makes a big difference when you're talking about like an anti-infantry defense weapon. You can shoot it with some fair accuracy, but it's considered like a small laser, so it doesn't have that much a range, but you pretty much hit anything that you can touch with that laser. So it's a pretty awesome little backup weapon system to have. There's lots of other glitter boys that have lots of other stuff that they can do like that too. You can have missiles in a backpack. I believe you have shoulder mounted missiles. We were talking about it when we spoke about the glitter boy last. There's the Taurus glitter boy, and that has two large mortars that he holds on like giant bazookas, and he can indirect fire. There's lots of fun little systems up there. But if you guys haven't checked it out, go and check out the spreadsheet that I have over on the Google Plus page. It shows all of the quote unquote test models of the Savage Worlds versions of all the glitter boys that are available in the game.
So is there
Mutants in Orbit is crazy.
Is there only two Angels of Death? Or there's an Angel of Death and the Angel of End. Is there other ones?
There's a whole book on that whole section of MindWorks.
Yeah, you mentioned these. I thought they were like an NPC where you could, just come across multiples of these, but there's really only 2 of them then, and
there's only 2 of them. They're very unique, and they're very powerful.
Crazy kick-ass.
I'm pulling up the Mindworks now just to take a look at it and see if we can talk about that a little more. Let's see. There, among the inhabitants of Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Romania, the Angel of Death is known by many names, including Death's Angel, the Dark Angel, and the Death Witch. Yeah, page 10 of Mindworks. Yeah, so there's a big full picture, the Angel of Death on page 11. Her true name is Angel Herenicel. Yeah, Cyberdoc, 15th level in the Rift system anyways. And all kinds of abilities and obsessions.
All right, now I'm trying to find it. Death, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
And page 13 has the picture of her stepdaughter, the Angel of, or her daughter, excuse me.
Oh,
Angel
wow. Yeah, that's Predator right there.
Yeah, for sure. 4 arms, big old plasma gun in one hand, looks like a rune weapon in the other hand. Big old rune sword, prehensile tail. Wow.
Head spikes. When you really need to headbutt somebody, you got to have the spikes.
Sometimes you just gotta.
So have those things been converted into Savage Rifts? Somebody must have done it already.
You know what? I want to say yes, but I don't remember. I don't know if anybody's converted them over. So if anybody's got any notes, let us know. I'd love to see them if you haven't already. Love to see what you guys can put together. I always love to see what the community has put together. You guys surprise me more than anything else.
Yeah, that's one of the cool parts about Rifts is making characters or making NPCs and stuff like that, because you just basically give them whatever you want, stat them out, and make them do it whatever you think they can do. But she looks pretty. Her alignment is diabolic. I like that. The name says it all, right? All right. So, where were we here? Because I'm sidetracked by looking at pictures of these.
We were talking about the last but not least. We have Mr. John Nieper, jerk number 3. He says, jerk number 3 here. Really fun Boomers pod. Thank you so much. I had asked a question about a discussion of the iconic framework edges while discussing the iconic frameworks, only because when you get to discussing the edges, you always have to discuss the iconic frameworks once again. Maybe not in as much depth, but the IF edges are as much a part of the iconic frameworks as the framework's awesome abilities themselves. Anyways, great pod, and if you guys want to come and play a little play-by-post Savage Rifts, come join us at savagerifts.com, Savage Rifts index page. He gives a link in his little notation there. We would love to have you both. Sorry for the shameless plug, but if you still want to get a game with RP dial to 11, this is where it happens. And yeah, you know what? I visited some of those pages. I've gone onto the Savage Rifts index page and just shuffled through some of what the players' comments and some of the stuff that they're doing in their play-by-post, and that's pretty awesome, John. I'm not afraid of a shameless plug, so please let me know. We'll try to throw that out a little more, get some more people out there. It's always fun to get a game in wherever you can, and I know some people like to play in a play-by-post instead of live, just because time and life and family and bills and money and otherwise just don't let you do live games as much as you like. So please let us know if there's anything else you guys want to see, you guys want to hear. There's a lot of great podcasts, there's a lot of great pages, and lots of good stuff that people have posted up on the Google Rifts page. So please let me know. Hit me up with an email, send me a PM. You guys know how to get a hold of me. Have
you ever played a play-by-mail Savage Worlds game? Because I'm just kind of thinking that kind of takes the fast out of the fast, furious, and fun.
Yeah, it's kind of like running a race as a snail. It takes a little patience, but when you've only got a couple of hours or, throughout a whole week or, even just through a whole month to be able to throw at gaming, sometimes you can do it 15 minutes here, 5 minutes here, just plug in once at a time, and you can't get a group going all at the same time. Sometimes you can find a group in that and you get the play-by-post going so much that by the time you sit down with those folks, it's like you already know their characters, you already know the game. So it's kind of cool. Back in the old days, before there was this great thing called the internet, there was a lot of play-by-mail that happened, and there was some play-by-post on some bulletin boards and other places. So it's reminiscent of that whole time.
I'm just thinking, it's funny because back in the day before we had the internet, that would have been considered super fast because you actually didn't have to wait for the mail to get delivered to the guy's house.
Yeah.
Could you imagine doing play-by-post? You had to send the guy an actual letter. One move every couple of weeks.
I am old enough to remember that. So yes, I can.
All right. Well, I'm going to take this one because lastly, Harrison Hunt said, "Can I contribute a question?" And I'm like, well, sure. That's what we're here for. I'm in the market for a new juicer. Mine keeps getting all gummed up with bump F and pulp. I'm not sure what bump F is. I'm assuming that's a typo. And it's just isn't fit for purpose. It's one I got for a tenner from Argos. I'm wondering if Argos is like English Walmart or something like that. What juicer should I get? Any recommendations? Well, I actually do have some recommendations. There are two types of juicers. A centrifugal juicer. They're the least expensive and the best value. And there's one called a masticating juicer. Now, it's called a masticating juicer, not probably the other word that sounds like masticating. And you might not want to do that around the juicer in case you're not juicing and you're doing something else near it. So you want to compare the two of them. You're looking at a centrifugal juicer, about $75 and up. And a masticating one is about $300, quite pricey. So the centrifugal one is going to feed produce through a spinning blade, and the masticating one kind of like grinds it between two augers. The pros, the centrifugal one is probably the best value. It's fast and it makes juices in about 60 seconds. It's great with most fruits and vegetables. It's lightweight and some parts are dishwasher safe. The masticating one, however, is superb with leafy greens. It has a drier pulp. And it's got a quiet operation. So if you're in like your flat, you won't have to worry about your neighbors listening to you masticate all over the place, which is kind of good. It can also make other items like nut milk and frozen banana ice cream. And I know that you've recently become a vegan convert, so you might be able to make some cool stuff while masticating your fruits. As far as the cons go, the centrifugal one is not as good with leafy greens as more expensive juicer types. That's one of the cons of the centrifugal juicer, and it has a loud operation. You don't want to be caught, with an extremely loud cooking utensil. And then the masticating one is slow. It can take up to 5 minutes. What? 5 minutes per juicing? That's crazy. That's far too long. And the produce must be cut into smaller pieces to prevent clogging. This thing's starting to sound like a piece of junk, although I do like that it's masticating. Anyways, there you go. Buy yourself a centrifugal one, because in my opinion, the centrifugal juicers are probably the best value. I highly doubt you're going to make any kind of nut milk. Well, maybe you are. I like that you make nut milk in a masticating juicer. What the hell? All right, we're done. Moving on. That's too funny.
That just went south really fast.
It's masticating juicers. You can make nut milk and frozen banana ice cream.
I think you just like saying it.
Oh, man.
Nexus points.
Okay, so today's Nexus point, main topic, the topic du jour is the juicer.
Yes, one of the gods of war.
Still falls into that category, do they?
They still do. And actually, the juicers probably, I would say next to the crazy, they're probably some of the most iconic gods of war.
Nice. Last week when we were talking about the Glitter Boy, you had mentioned that you had a good juicer story and that I had one as well, but I'd like to save those good stories to the end of this section.
Yeah, right on. No problem. Yeah, I think we're gonna both enjoy that one because I don't think we've heard either one of our good juicer stories yet. There's lots of stuff that you can talk about when it comes to juicers, and we're not talking about the centrifugal ones or the masticating ones either. Lots of good stories, lots of good mechanics, really, really unique stuff that happens with the juicers. So for those of you who don't know, if you're a first-time listener or first-time Savage Riffs player, the juicer lives by the rule of the live fast, die young, and leave a great-looking corpse. That's pretty much how they like to do it. Juicer's really awesome because the juicers, what's happened is, so like if you listen to some of the examples that we talked about before with the crazy, with the mom conversion, they've pretty much hyped up the mind to tell the body what to do and how to move, how fast it can go, how strong it can be. In this case, they've juiced up the body and the mind's just holding on for dear life here because the body's going so fast with all the different types of chemical enhancements that it has, all the nanotech augmentation and all the different types of biocomputer systems that are running through it. It enhances their speed, their strength, and endurance. I mean, you want to talk about it's not even funny. It's like as strong as the Hulk, but the size of a normal human being. And I think a lot of people don't realize that a juicer can be super, super strong, and he doesn't have to be 8 foot tall and 400 pounds. You don't have to be, giant tree trunks for legs. You can be, a slender juicer. You can have a juicer that has a physique of, like an Olympic gymnast, just general physique all over. But you don't even have to look that pretty. It doesn't even have to be a nice physique. You can have, just a big lumbering 6'3", 300-pound man, just a large barrel-chested guy. He could be a juicer, but the little girl next to him could be the same thing. And she's half his size, half his weight, and probably just as strong. And it's all because of the chemical enhancements that they've had done to them. But there's a trade-off. Juicers give up part of their lifespan. And in the original Palladium Rifts games, there was actually a die roll that you would do. And I don't remember it right off the top of my head, but I believe it was like 1d6 or 1d6 plus 3 or something. Really, it would give you a really low number. That's the number of years that you would have left in game time before that character would die, before he would burn out. So, if you rolled low, you would have 4 years of game time to be able to play that character through before, you start getting detrimental health benefits. Your constitution starts dropping, your strength starts dropping, and then ultimately your character would keel off one day. And usually you work that out with the GM, so you can figure out the calendar and how many days or how many weeks or months. It's kind of like having a terminal illness and they tell you you've got 18 months. Well, that clock starts ticking, and boy, you start counting those days. I knew you were playing a juicer when you start pulling out the calendars. You start asking the GM every time we start playing, what's the date today? What year is it? Because you're counting the days, you're marking those X's off. It took us 3 weeks to get from, Phoenix, Arizona to Michigan. That's too long. We need to find a faster way to do this. I'm not going to live that long or I won't make it. So a lot of the juicers tend to keep track of time, but keeping up with the fast and furious type of system that Savage Worlds is, they came up with a better mechanic, and they called it the burn die. And I absolutely love what they did there. So before we jump the gun there, talking about the juicers, just really powerful and dangerous. These guys have been literally juiced up, and they call them that, juicers, because back in my day, if you were a bodybuilder, you usually would take steroids. And whenever you take steroids, they'd say that you were juicing, or that, you would get the juice. And that meant that it would pump you up. So that's where they got the name for the juicer from. But that's pretty much what they're doing. But on, an umpteenth scale, they're not only taking, lots of steroids, just a cocktail of chemical enhancements get pushed through their system, and all of their bones get denser, their muscles gain more muscle mass, and they just become really, really dangerous. The nice thing is you don't lose your sanity like you do with a crazy, but you give up years of your life, and you end up using the burn die and the blaze of glory rule.
Yeah, everything is I was picturing it something along the lines of, you have buttons on your chest. One is like strength, one is like speed, the other's accuracy.
Yeah.
And when it's go time, you're like, oh, I need to be strong. So you just press the button, and it pumps in some chemicals, and all of a sudden you're strong. But this is straight across the board. You're always like that. Like, this is 100% on all the time. It's not something that you need to engage.
Yeah. Imagine if you had taken a 6-pack of monsters all at once. That's pretty much what it would feel like to be a juicer all the time. You would be burning at that, literally be, your body would be on fire and burning. Your nerve endings would be firing, your brain, your nervous system would be going nuts, because you constantly want to be on the go. And it's just the way they've chemically induced themselves. There is this thing called a juicer harness, and there's a picture of it in the Ultimate Edition of the original Rifts, and it shows a guy that has like, this ring, this small metallic ring that goes around each thigh, around each arm, and across the chest. And in the middle of this, X belt chest plate kind of harness that he's wearing, there's a big circle. And inside that circle, it's like a big circular plate. And inside that plate, it holds all the micro injections and chemicals, and small tubes go along your shoulders and along your hips down into those rings that you're wearing, and it injects all of your muscles. So when you need that boost, there was a big button in the middle. They would just hit that, and they would get that boost. that they needed. And it mechanically, it didn't do anything. You were always that strong, but it was just another way for the players to be able to, get juiced up real quick and then go jump into battle. I thought it was a really cool kind of little bit of fluff that they did for it. But in the original rulebook, they actually goes over all the bonuses and abilities. And even in the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, I mean, it talks super endurance, super strength, super speed, super reflexes, super reaction time. I mean, you're like, it's Superman all over again. You're almost that indestructible, fast, powerful. The only thing you can't do is fly and shoot laser beams out your eyes. And even then, cybernetics, you could probably get it done.
I just, when I thought of the juicer and all the chemicals and stuff going in, that's just what I imagined, that there would be tubes of fluids pumping around, some interior, some exterior and stuff. But no, I just see the juicer. It just looks like regular Joe Schmo.
Yeah, they get, a lot of the times, a lot of people play juicers like adrenaline junkies, just like the crazy. It's very similar. If they're not moving or doing something, they get bored real quick. And they get jittery, and there's nothing more dangerous than a bored crazy and a jittery juicer. Say that 5 times.
Yeah, no, I'm going to take a pass on that one. I'll end up on some tangent somewhere. The hero's journey, just like all of the other ones, the juicers get 3 rolls from any of the following tables: body armor, which makes sense; close combat weapons, ranged weapons, training. Underworld, and Black Ops, which is actually pretty sweet. I like the fact that that's even in here, Underworld and Black Ops. There's a whole black market group of people, too, in this game.
Yeah, there's some really neat stuff in the chart for Underworld and Black Ops. If you pick my favorite number 7 and you just read across what it says she's done more and traveled more than anyone, and she's always seemed to know someone somewhere she can call on information or aid. Your hero has the I know a guy edge, and she gains +2 to all connection rolls to contact and gain assistance. So that's kind of cool. You've worked in the underworld, you've worked in the black market, or maybe done some black operations for some government organizations or the coalition states, or, someone somewhere, and you have the I know a guy edge, and you get that for free right off the bat just by rolling on the table. So, yeah, some really good stuff going on there. And then it goes on to say you get 2 additional rolls on any table except those dealing with magic or psionics, and that's kind of obvious.
Yeah, there's, I guess the chemicals are inhibiting the magics and the psionics?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. There's no way for you to be able to concentrate long enough to be able to, feel the energy of the universe when you're too busy going, yeah, let's go.
You're out hunting with this guy, and he's just constantly like, tree, shoot, shrub, shoot,
yeah.
stream,
and then you
shoot.
look at him, and he gives you the look like, what? It moved.
Yeah, right. He's shooting everything that moves.
No,
so here we
this is
go.
the guy you go hunting with, right? And he says, "Yeah, I'll pick you up at 3 a.m." And you hear this tank pull up out front. Then the lid opens up, and it's him, and he pops up and says, "You ready?"
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, we're on the same page now. Yeah, come on, let's go. Let's go shoot a deer.
Enjoy the veal
with the tank. Oh man.
Yeah, so it picks up right after that, right after the hero's journeys. It goes into the burn, and it starts talking about how you're giving up a part of your life, your lifespan, in order to be able to have all these special abilities. So one of the special statistics that the juicers have is called burn, and burn measures the short lifespan. It tells you that the burn decreases over time. And this is one of the great mechanics. I don't know who came up with this. I don't care, but it is just one of the awesomest things that I think has happened to Savage Worlds in a long time. So in a standard campaign, the juicer's burn begins at 8. At the start of each session, you roll a burn die, and that's usually a D10. If the roll at the beginning of every game, a juicer has to roll his burn die. If the roll is equal to or greater than the juicer's current burn, in this case, if it was a new character, it'd be 8, he must reduce the burn by 1 point, or he dies irrevocably by the end of that session. So if you roll a 10 on the burn die, you need to reduce your burn score by 1 point, or you can choose to go out in a blaze of glory and end your game and end the life of that character, that game. So you can talk it out with your GM, go over what's going to go on, or kind of give them clues, or maybe take them aside and you guys have a private conversation, or maybe have the conversation at the table and involve everybody into the story, just completely on how you want to play it. That's not necessarily how you can do it. That's how I did it the last time the juicer in my party died. But again, it's your game. Play it how you want to. So if you choose to spend the burn, you go on normally. But if you choose not to spend the burn, you're probably going to go out in a blaze of glory. And you go take look at the blaze of glory in the setting rules under the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, and that's pretty much what it says. You are going to go out in a heroic blast, in the middle of the game, the end of the game. It just depends on when you and the GM decide that it's the right time. Exactly.
Burning bright. So for every opposite reaction, there's this thing.
Yeah. So whenever you're willing to take a risk as a juicer, what it says is you get to spend some of the burn that gives the juicer a D10 burn die to add to any trait rolls. So you remember when I told you when they used to hit that button and they get all juiced up, all yanked up? Well, this is where the burning bright comes in, where, I'm going to try to jump this chasm, but normally I wouldn't be able to make it. So I'm going to hit the button a couple times, get all yoked up and ready to go, and I'm going to use my D10 burn die to add to any trait or damage roll. So if I'm going to make that strength check to be able to leap over the chasm, or the jump check or whatever you want to call it, the skill check, you get to roll all the dice and you get to add your burn die to it. And that die can ace. And if you spend a penny, you can re-roll the burn die.
So this becomes like an add-on feature. Let's say you had a fighting skill of 6. You're not using burning bright to get that D6 to go to a D10. You're using it to be a D6 and a D10?
Correct. So normally you get your wild die and your skill die. So you get a D6 as your skill. Your wild die is a D6. And you're thinking, okay, I need to beef up my game, so I'm going to have to add in a few more points to this. So I'm going to use one of my burn points, get a D10, and add it to that roll.
So this will actually suck away if you would go from 8 to a 7
at the beginning. Yeah, if your score was 8 at the beginning of the game, and you made you rolled a 3, so you're good. You're not going to die this game, and you don't need to burn a point, so you're good. So as you're going through the game, you realize, oh my God, I'm fighting this great 4-armed creature with all kinds of swords, and you go up to fight it, and you realize that, man, my sword skill sucks. I roll a D6. I need more. I need to kill this thing now. So you decide I'm going to use up one of my burn points and add a D10 to my roll. So your burn points go down from 8 to 7. Then you take a D10 out of your bag, and now you're rolling a D6, and a D10, and roll away and hope that one of them explodes. The more dice you roll, the better chance you are that you're going to have them explode. And if you explode a D10, oh yeah, you're guaranteed to get a success, a raise, and then some.
I frickin' love that mechanic. And it's cool because it says any trait, so that's abilities or skills, or damage. You can basically use Burning Bright to do any roll, which is
so you
pretty,
get
well,
that,
I guess
you get
besides
those features
soap.
with those big railgun, railgun miniguns or whatever, just firing off like 4d12s like a boom gunner, and then I'm just gonna throw burn die into that. Let me burn one of those up and just throw some more. It's ridiculous. You start throwing a lot of dice in Savage Worlds, but that's so much fun because if you've ever played any of the Savage World systems, you never get to throw 4d12 plus 8 plus d6 plus d10.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a wickedly cool mechanic that is.
It is. It's a pretty cool mechanic. I've seen this mechanic used, or at least people have talked about using it in different ways, such as getting rid of power points for spellcasters and having them use a burn die instead of as the magic system. So, once you get the arcane background, you get 8 magic points, or as your kind of like burn points. And then every time you throw a spell, you got to roll that dice to see if your magic points come down or not. And then if you want to, you can boost the spell by burning a magic point on purpose, and you get that extra die. They kind of adapted the dice mechanic into psionics, into magic, into shamanism, animalism, other types of abilities and powers and stuff that are out there. I thought it was a really cool idea, and I don't know who came up with it, but I've seen that adapted in so many different ways for so many different Savage Worlds games that they're putting out there as kind of like custom mechanics. And I think it's really, really cool. So again, whoever came up with that, Sean, or, all the crew, whoever was there, Ross or whoever, that is genius right there. It's those little bits and pieces of Savage Worlds that keeps me coming back to this game, because every single time I play a game, every single time I see a different type, not a different type, but a different piece of that system, it's awe-inspiring, because it's just one little die roll, and like, why didn't I ever think of that is usually what I think.
Yeah, so if you were to play a game where you're using just regular Magic High Fantasy and you wanted to incorporate this mechanic, you could set it up where you're not using power points.
Right.
But every time you cast a spell, you've got to roll against your burn or whatever, and then as it whittles down, and then when it's all said and done, when you run out of magic, then you
have to wait a day. You have to wait 24 hours, or you have to rest, or you have to get your magic points back from a medallion, or drink a potion to get a magic point, or whatever that may be. Whatever limitation you want to be able to come up with as a GM for that player. And the really cool thing that I liked about it is that every now and then the wizard can take a little bit of a risk and burn off some of those magic points to get that extra die, either on the magic roll, on a skill roll, or, kind of having magic help him, guide him, maybe do more damage. So if you throw a fireball out there, well, I need to really do a fireball, so let's boost that a little more. You can see the mage putting up his hands and really fighting the energy to be able to keep it under control as he fires off this ginormous meteorite that comes out of the sky. And I'm going to add a D10 to that damage roll just because I think that is awesome. And that's the flexibility that Savage Worlds gives you. You can take little pieces of all the different game systems and game campaigns that are out there and throw them together to make your own. But I've seen them do a lot of great things with that burn mechanic, and I think it's really cool. Magic was just one of them, but that was the one that came to mind.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that maybe when you run out, instead of like, well, these guys would just die, the juicer dies, but as a mage, maybe you explode as well in a giant ball of flames or something. Yeah, maybe you take damage. Yeah, maybe you get mana burn, feedback, or whatever you want to call it. You can come up with all kinds of different kinds of rules. Maybe when your magic dips to 0, you can't get it back until your mage goes on a quest and finds an artifact, or there's a certain type of dragon scale he has to eat, or just something crazy. But it's all that is part of the story, right? It's all wrapped up. It's all trappings. It's all wrappings and story that you and the player get to sit down and talk about. How are we going to do this? How can we fit this into the story? And once you start doing that, it's just like fireworks. Things start going off left and right, and you really come up with really great ideas. So before we scroll down into the next deal here, which would be the juicer's abilities and bonuses, there is a sidebar panel here called Burn Out or Fade Away. There's only 2 ways out for any juicer. One involves a lengthy, difficult process of detoxification. What's the other one?
Death.
Wow.
Well, yeah. So, if you either burn out or you fade away, you're going to burn out in a blaze of glory. You're going to die, and you're going to take a few hundred people with you, or, Godzilla, or whoever that you're fighting. The other one is you fade away. You can detox, and there's a really rare case where you might survive the detoxification. But if you do, the sidebar goes on and to say the player seeks detox for his juicer. He has to find a surgeon willing to try it and who has the facilities to pull it off, such as Castle Refuge. Then a knowledge check with penalties to both the roll and the healing roll. Even if you're successful, that you have to make a vigor check on top of that. If you fail, he dies. It says that literally in 5 words. If you fail the vigor check, he dies. So it's a live or die kind of dice roll. And even if you do manage to survive the surgery, it'll take you a full month to recover, and you will get all kinds of, you go somewhat back to a normal human, but you still get the death. You still have the death wish hindrance, even if you go through detoxification. So no matter what, your character's already wired up to be an adrenaline junkie, and they have the death wish hindrance. So if they're going to jump off the ledge to get to the river at the bottom, or they're going to take the ladder, 9 times out of 10, the juicer will jump, burn out, or fade away. That's really your only choice.
What would be an example of a reason why you would need to de-juice yourself?
Having a child.
Okay. Yeah.
Fall in love with someone.
Yeah, you got a reason to stick around, kind of thing.
You'll be dead in a year. Yeah, and if you have a child, or if you adopt a child, or something like that, usually pulling at the heartstrings of player characters tends to do a lot. Some of it could be fear of death. They don't want to die. They're afraid to see what's on the other side, or they're afraid, or maybe they've been there, or maybe they've experienced so much of it, they want to live. Maybe you have a juicer that has a change of heart, becomes a pacifist, and realize the only way he's going to become a true pacifist is to get rid of this thing that's on him. I mean, those are just examples of things I've read, heard, or played through before. But
no, that's very cool.
There's a lot of reasons to live, right? There's a lot of reasons not to be able to kill yourself, even though you're wired up and juiced up to this bomb, this chemical bomb that's killing you. But there's a lot of good reasons to not to. And that's the hard part as a GM, trying to get those stories to connect that way, to be able to push the characters into a good place. And sometimes the players are just there to say, I'm here to play this guy for like 8 or 10 games and he's going to die. And great. If that's what they want, give them what they want. If they want to take on Godzilla and they want to die by jumping into Godzilla and exploding from the inside out, let's do it. Because you never know. Sometimes you throw in a little girl at the end and you're like, you know what? I don't want to die yet.
Yeah,
maybe that character touches her or whatever. And that's really unique storytelling. So GMs, take note of that, write that down, use that as often as you can, because it works. It works great.
Some GM tips with Victor the Savage Rifter.
I love it. I need to patent that. I need to put that on a t-shirt.
There you go. All right, so over to the abilities and bonuses.
Oh yeah.
What do we got here? They can sacrifice. For the sacrifice of a long, normal life, or at least as close as one can achieve, the juicer gains some rather amazing powers and gifts. What do we got? What are we getting? The
first one right up front, internal repair systems. Yes, you heard me right. Internal repair systems. Something you didn't think that a juicer got. But a juicer has this biocomputer built in to manage all these drugs and these chemicals. But what it also does, it also ensures that the juicer has a continued health and his body can repair itself. And there's also some nanites and some, slow regeneration going on in there. But the juicer gains the ability of a slow regeneration, so you get a natural healing roll once per day as well. And there's a continuous replenishing supply of nanites and chemicals. It's able to do emergency repairs, and that's where you get that natural healing roll once a day. So as an action, the juicer can make a natural healing roll at +2 to heal wounds. This costs 1 charge. The system holds a maximum of 3 charges, and it can recharge itself up to 8 hours. I think it requires like 8 hours to recover 1 charge. So in a 24-hour period, if you don't use any of the charges, it'll recharge itself back up to 3 charges. So you can just hit the button and you get a +2 to heal wounds through a natural healing roll, which is absolutely awesome. And you would think, like, why the heck does a juicer want that? Usually the juicer's the one who they're aiming at. The juicer's the one taking on Godzilla inside the mouth, constantly taking damage. So you always want to be able to have that ability to not only fend it off by having nice armor, but you also want to have the regeneration, because eventually you are going to take a hit. The boom gun is going to aim at you from the enemy. It happens. I've seen juicers get taken down by boom guns, and then they get back up a few rounds later because they have their regeneration rolls, or they make their regeneration rolls thanks to a few bennies.
It's like Terminator, right? You think that the guy's done, but he just like sort of rebuilds himself and up he gets.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the advantage that, speaking of Terminators, that's the advantage that juicers have over cyborgs. Like a full combat cyborg, he can't heal a full combat cyborg. You need to be repaired.
Yeah.
If you take enough damage as a cyborg, you'll shut down. The nice thing about it is, if you're a cyborg, most times it won't kill you if you get taken down and dropped. You can get repaired and they can turn you back on like Terminator, and he'll just get up and start walking around again. But as a juicer, you have that slow regeneration. You have all these special chemicals going through your body and the internal repair system helping you out. That makes a big difference, because I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've seen a juicer take a hit from a boom gun, get knocked off the hill, roll down the back, and everybody thinks he's dead. 3 rounds later, he's made some rolls, he's used some bennies, and he gets up and he's, firing away, coming over the hill, going nuts, pulling a, Arnold Schwarzenegger moment, flying through the jungle with the minigun, shooting away and taking out everybody because he's pissed off because somebody killed him. I've seen that happen, and it's just absolutely intense when you see it happen in the game.
Nice. Super endurance. Juicers begin with a +2 vigor die types. So does that mean that if you were gonna, so what do you start with like a 6, 4, 6? No,
so
6,
you
8?
start with a 4.
Yeah, so you get,
if you spend a few points, right? The few points that you get on your abilities. Say you put 1 point in your vigor, you decide to make it a D6. Yes, people, you heard right. Juicers begin with a +2 to vigor die types. So that means you go from a D6 to a D10.
Yeah, that's
Just
what
for
I
the
was getting
juicer.
at. Yeah, 2 vigor
So
die
if-
types. But it
Exactly,
says there's
so if
no
you-
maximum.
and
What happens when you hit 12?
You start adding 2.
Oh, does it? Is that how you go? Okay.
Either 1 or 2. Yeah, you start adding bonuses. So say you spent all your points on vigor, your 5 points or your 4 points or however what the maximum is. It's not going to take much where you're going to be at D12 plus 2 as a starting character. D12 is the maximum die that you can have in vigor, or you can have in any ability. So you're going to be rolling pretty high on the scale there. You can take a lot of damage, a lot of beating, aka super endurance.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm listening to you. So they get a +2. You require half the amount of sleep, and you get a +2 on all fatigue checks. And I'm reading on, and look what's next. It's +2 to agility.
Reflexes.
And I'm like, what? They get vigor and agility, and then I scan over and they get it to strength too. Like,
Yeah, so you get you get endurance, you get reflexes, and you get super strength, and it's all +2 die types to each one of those.
that is freaking insane.
You only
That's
need to
the
sleep
start.
4 hours. You get +2 bonus to all of your fatigue checks. You get the uncanny reflexes, which gives you -2 to be hit by all attacks.
Now, uncanny reflexes. Once again, you have to see the attack coming for that one.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
You have to see the attack coming, but if you can see it coming, if you know someone's shooting at you, you're a twitch. You're real quick at what you can see happening to you. And last but not least, if that's not enough, you begin the game with the quick edge for reflexes. And then it goes on for super speed. You can cover ground quickly, so you double the base pace because you have the fleet-footed edge, meaning you're going to have a pace at around 16 inches. Yes, that is 16 squares on a 1-inch per square board, or 16 inches if you use a ruler. And to top it all off, you get a D10 running die. So if you roll the maximum amount on a running die, which is a 10 in this case, and you add that to your pace, you could move 26 inches in one action.
That's a really big pace.
Once I throw on this bow, chicka wow wow, what you gonna say? You act like you gon' leave, but I know that you gon' stay.
And now you know why glitter boys are afraid of juicers.
Yeah, because they just roll in and just storm the castle.
Yeah,
This thing comes flying at you.
Get that one. Yeah, you might get, as a glitter boy, that one shot off at very, very close range to take out that juicer, or at least knock him down. If you don't, that juicer is going to be at your throat. So those of you who are playing juicers and you see glitter boys with railguns shooting back against you, take note, run real fast. And as if that's not enough, super strength gives you +2 die types. Again, no maximum. And you begin with the brawny edge. So just being a juicer, you start out with like 3 bonus edges, +2 die types to 3 of your abilities, and you get super speed.
Yeah, so at a minimum, at the very minimum, you're starting with an 8 in vigor, an 8 in agility, and an 8 in strength, and plus you get 5 other points to up those by a die type already. So like you could seriously be 12 in all of these.
To those 3. Yeah, there's no trait maximum. That means that you can start dumping points into a couple of them and end up. It's very typical to see a juicer with a D10, 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 D12, D10.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it would be. I was just looking up the quick edge. I just wanted to make sure before I spoke about what it does. But any card under a 5 on the initiative gets discarded for a new card. So that's actually pretty sweet. So
yeah, that means you're never going to be going last. You're more than likely going to be going on average second, if not first, next to the crazy. Because the crazy also gets the quick edge from the beginning.
I like that edge. It's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
I like
know
the
a lot
quick
of folks
edge.
that pick it too.
And I really like the model logger. The club shows up and you're like, okay.
One of the things that we haven't talked about yet, because it's way deep in the middle of the book, is the attribute of strength and when it counts as super strength. So it says, and this is important because if a juicer, now you can see it says super strength under the juicer, right? That's the super strength, super reflexes, super endurance. So if you get up into the D12 super strength, you can actually go to the superhuman strength table, and a D12 gives you a load limit of 60 but the Brawny Edge will give you a load limit of 96, give or take. So the maximum weight that you can be carrying around is close to 300 pounds before the weight starts affecting your movement, your strength, and your strain and your ability. So here's a good example right out of the book, folks. Okay, I'm talking about super strength under page 64. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but it's kind of important and pertinent to the juicer. For example, a combat cyborg with a strength D12 plus 4 has a load limit of 1,000 pounds. He can grab a large tree, about 1,000 pounds, to do a total of 2d12 plus 7 with it. Anything 1,000 pounds or more does mega damage, and combat cyborgs do mega damage anyways, though the tree won't stand up more than a couple of hits at best. So as you can see, if you've got a juicer with enough super strength, you can start doing some really crazy things. You know, what you can start picking up and lifting. And we're just talking like a regular, 250 pounds, 6'1" tall, human being with a nice physique. It totally does not have to be an 8 foot, 400 pound, Hulk of a man. Although you can do that. You can play that kind of character. But there's no reason why you can't have a little petite woman with a juicer system on and all of a sudden she's, punching holes through the Glitter Boy armor, through the Coalition transport.
I want to rip a tree out of the ground and smash somebody in the face with it.
Oh, you've never played a game, a Supers game or, a Riffs or something like that where you can actually do that. You just got to do it. You got to make the character, put it out there and just play the one game, even if it's just a one-off. It's so much fun.
If he grabs a large tree, he does a total... Oh, there it is. I was like, what's the damage? 2d12 plus 7.
Plus 7, mega damage.
I was so stunned. I was reading I don't know if you said that, but I was reading the chart and I'm like, so the D12 plus 1 is only 400 pounds, but if you got that extra plus 2 out of the deal, you've more than doubled your maximum weight.
Yeah, exactly. So we were talking about it earlier, when you use 1 point, what does it go to after D12? It goes to D12 plus 1, D12 plus 2, D12 plus 3. So it's incrementally a bonus of plus 1 to the D12 roll. So for those of you who are not Savage Worlds literate, in Savage Worlds, most of the target number is 4. And for every 4 above that, you get a bonus. What do they call that, Gary?
Sorry, buddy. I'm reading the heavy item table. I get so sidetracked.
Having fun throwing things around.
There's a parking meter.
Yeah, there's a parking meter, a lamppost. I love doing that one. I love grabbing a lamppost or a large tree stump, throwing those around and doing some damage. You do strength D12 plus 2 MDC damage with a lamppost. Yeah, batter up, buddy.
Yeah, so you were talking about getting a hit with a raise.
Yes, thank you very much. So when you get a hit, that means you've beat the target number of 4. You've gotten a Victor. 4 or higher. If you get a raise, that means you've rolled an 8 or higher. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm too excited for this, man. You could pick up a truck if you had a D12 plus 7. You could pick up a truck, a pickup truck. Get it? 4 tons. And roll your strength plus D12 plus 6. That's super cool.
If you want to use up a burn point, add a D10 to that.
You're crushing some people.
You're going to be rolling stupid numbers like 32 and 40 for your damage roll because there's so many dice that you're going to be adding on. And remember, the law of averages, the more dice you roll, the more likely it is that you're going to ace on that die. And ace being you rolled the maximum. So there's a likely chance you could be rolling 50s, 60s. I've seen numbers go that high before. When we were in the game with Sean Patrick Fannin over at Crit Hit this summer, I was doing that with my Leyline Walker, and I was rolling like 3d8 plus 6 and adding a d6 for the wild die, and I aced a couple times, and he asked me, okay, what'd you roll? 38. He's like, seriously? It's like, yeah, you want to see it? I had to get out the calculator to figure out 12 plus 2 plus 6 plus 8 plus 3. It was insane, some of the stuff that I was rolling. And I hadn't played Rifts. I've always GM'd Rifts at that point. So I didn't realize like how many dice the players are throwing out on the table. Made me appreciate it a little bit more, what they have to go through. But it's a lot of fun, man, just to be able to pick up a lamppost or throw a truck. Most people don't get to experience those kind of story elements that you get to use in a battle, unless you're playing like a 4-color superheroes kind of game. There's very few games that allow you that flexibility to be able to do it, and Rifts is one of them, and the Savage World system just picks up on that so awesomely.
Yeah, throwing trucks and trees, man. That sounds like my jam. Excellent. All right, my favorite part of every class, every section, the complications. What happens with these guys when things go south?
You get an internal repair system, super endurance, super reflexes, super speed, super strength, and everybody's like, well, what's not to like? Why doesn't everybody play a juicer? Well, other than the fact that you can die on your very next game, game number 4 into the campaign or whatever, that's always a bummer. But the first thing that it says is juicer complications. Cybernetics. Although it's possible to add cybernetics to the juicer already's hacked biology, they suffer a severe drawback. Each point of strain removes a point of burn. Let that sink in for a minute.
Ooh, yeah, that's a quick death.
So yeah, if you decide to take dermal armor, and it gives you 2 points of armor, MDC armor, guess what? Now your burn score is not an 8 as starting character, it's a 6.
Yeah, you lose a limb and get a spatula hand and have to, as a juicer.
Yeah, that would not be good. Although the spatula could come in handy for barbecues.
Well, you never know. And just think, if you're like super endurance, you could really flip some burgers. You'd be like McDonald's best worker ever.
Work a 12-hour shift and then die the next day.
That's right. Life accomplished, right?
Yeah. Check that off of your list. Next up is Death Wish. So this can kind of be, in my opinion, Death Wish is not a bad thing because it brings out the best in players I have found. But I guess if you look at it, it kind of does drive you to do some really stupid things. It says the juicer knows he's going to die, so he's going to go out magnificently. So he does something that folks are going to remember and be inspired by. He has the Death Wish hindrance as a minor hindrance. So again, Death Wish. These guys are adrenaline junkies. 9 times out of 10, they're going to do the most dangerous thing. Even though there's a ladder right there, going down to the bottom of the building, they decide, oh, it's only 3 stories. I'm going to jump.
Death Wish minor. Yeah, your hero wants to die after completing some task. One of the great things about Savage Worlds is these hindrance systems, or this hindrance system that it has in it. That just, there's flavor for your character. What are you going to do as a juicer? That's what is the one solidifying thing that you're going to do. And then when that's done, you're going to just end yourself. For me, I'm going to get my grandma to listen to my podcast. And then when she does, mission accomplished.
She's going to kill you.
She might. What's this nonsense? Like, we're talking about crack, Grandma. Drug-induced euphoria and tranquility. In order to keep the juicer from burning out over a matter of days, the biocomp constantly supplies a combination of psychotropic drugs and chemical inhibitors. So you're high the whole time. What?
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
God.
not necessarily a good thing. So what that causes you to do is all of your smarts and all of your smarts linked roles in non-combat or low stress situations have a -1 penalty. Now, a lot of you will think, oh, that's not so bad. But if you think about it, there are very few super smart juicers out there. So if you already have a D6 or God forbid a D4 in your skill roll or your smarts ability, a -1 penalty is a serious penalty. That's like taking a -25% on a percentage roll penalty when you roll that. And on the first round of any combat, you don't gain the benefits of uncanny reflexes or quick.
It takes you a second to figure out what's going on. And then when you do, then it's go time.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always walking around going, dude. And then he realizes it. And a second later, he's like, oh, dude. The light bulb goes on.
Yeah, he's a stoner. He's like, come on, bro. Peace, man. Why do we always got to fight? And then he gets shot and he's like, okay, you're dead. And it's go time. And
last but not least, they talk about sonics and magic. And of course, you can't have all this chemical cocktail inside the juicer. It makes it absolutely impossible for him to be able to use any magic or psionics in any way. So don't go thinking, leyline wizards out there, that you're going to get all juiced up and, solve all your weaknesses and be able to have that, because you'll completely lose your powers.
Yep. Juicer starting gear. This is the end of it. This is the last bit. Juicer assassin plate armor. Does this do anything cool?
It is mega damage armor, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, so you can take a bit of punishment with it, and then of course you've got your standard Wilkes 320 laser pistol, your JA9 variable laser rifle, for those
Yeah,
long
that's
range
always
shots.
nice. Yep, all those glitter boys. Variable lasers are very nice against glitter boys. They compensate real quick.
Vibro sword, your survival pack, and a bit of cash, and that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yep.
I really like the juicer. Like the Leyline Walker is fantastic because I can siphon magic, which I just think is cool. You know, the beginning of every combat round when it starts, I got to make some rolls to see if I can do some stuff, throw up some instant magic, start siphoning. If there's a Leyline near, I can increase my spell damage and stuff, which is just fantastic. But this juicer guy, this has got me thinking. There's a couple of little side notes here. Burn and short campaigns. So it says for very short campaigns, these, I guess this is just a little tidbit, a little game master's knowledge there. You should set the juicer's burn at a 6 instead of an 8. And for one shots, you set it at a 4. What else is in here? Yeah, so just reduce it if you're going to play a shorter game. But it says the burn die remains at 10. So if you're playing a shorter campaign, D6, D4, and to survive and thrive. The juicer is a super soldier in every way, but she's not invulnerable. Taking cover and closing with those who have big guns are 2 important tactics. Anytime you see a big gun pointing at you, you should be taking cover. That's a definite must. There are a ton of amazing things juicers can do with burn. Well, yeah, anytime you're rolling a D10 and adding that on, I would imagine there's some pretty cool things that you can do with it. And then lastly, it says yours is a story that is doomed to be short. Make it a good one and pick your moments of glory. That's right. You don't want to go to the bathroom and go out in a blaze of glory inside the porta potty. That's what I'm thinking. You might want to do it when it counts. So, these are the I think the SPF tips is, I guess, what they would be. The Sean Patrick Fannin game tips. Oh, all right. Well, by the looks of it, Victor got sucked into a rift. Fortunately, we pretty much put a pin in the juicer, so I'm just going to quickly wrap the show up, and hopefully Victor will get his internet up and running by the time we get it all said and done. If not, I'm sure he'll be back for the next Savage Rifters podcast when we talk about Mars.
Whoa, bloody hell. Oh man, I love this guy. Do we have to go yet? Yes. Oh, please. Of course we do. We've got work to do. Please can we stay just a little bit longer? Stop it, Jeffrey. Right, come on back through the rift there. Fine. Teddy hell.
Next week, we are going to be doing the Mars, which is mercenaries, adventurers, rogues, and scholars. These are people with skills, gears, and guts, facing the untold dangers and horrors of a mad world. Talking to Victor, he did say that this is probably going to be like a 2-part on this one because there is quite a bit of it. And just with a quick skim, it looks like there is a lot. But this is the one part of it that I'm really looking forward to, is this Mars, because this is going to allow you to incorporate other characters. All right, well, that little beep that you just heard back there was Victor sending me a message via the ley line. Looks like he got portaled to a place where there's no internet, and he's not going to be here to help me finish up the show. So we're just going to put a pin in this bad boy, wrap it up nice and tightly, and try and get it out to you, our valuable and most appreciated listeners. The Mars is going to be the part that allows you to bring in other characters from other games. You want to bring in a Grail from 50 Fathoms, or you want to bring in your Gunslinger from Deadlands. The Mars packages, I think, is how you do it, but I could be wrong because I really don't know Rifts that well. If you have questions for us, you can get us at murderhoboshow@gmail.com. Catch us on Twitter at murderhoboshow. Lastly, find us on G+ and Facebook, possibly Chatterbait. You can also head on over to the G+ community, take a walk around the Nerds International pages. We got lots of great content creators and people hanging around there all the time. And don't forget to check out the Savage Rifts community while you're at it. If you're interested in buying a juicer, there's a link in the show notes. And check out the new Just Insert Imagination release called Night of the Living Dolls, a Halloween adventure for the whole family. A group of doll-like minions wake up in the room of a 4-year-old girl. They must search the house for ritual ingredients while hiding from humans, avoiding the family dog and keeping a lookout for the minions of the man who imprisoned their boss. Yeah, with a little tweaking, you could turn this into something adult-oriented and fun. Like Night of the Living Sex Dolls. You sacrifice a 4-year-old to bestow life into your sex doll, and things take a turn for the worse. I think moments like this are why people don't leave me alone with the microphone. Anyways, that said, keep your pants on, everybody. Keep it fun. I'm out. And Victor, hopefully you'll be here next week. I miss you. The Murder Hobo Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo Show, copyright 2017, all rights reserved.